Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today I want to talk about the problem that has been exposed by these double drops, triple drops, and bonus events that we've gotten in the month of May here for Star Wars Celebration. I want to say that I've been loving this, right? This is I want to very much say that this is, when I say exposing problems, I'm saying that I feel Capital Games needs to address some things, needs to update the game because of what these rewards have kind of shown us. One of the biggest challenges they have constantly struggled with in the almost 10 years that this game has been active is the modernization. And by modernization, I think their progression of gear sometimes works really well, but they have a tough time going back and looking at an event, looking at something and saying, hey, you know what? We should really update that. We should change those things because it's not really doing what it should anymore. It was designed for a time in the game where this was important and now not so much. One of the best examples is the Bronzium data cards. At one point in time, this was a huge source of really good income, and you're like, oh, this is so important. I mean, now it's just it's a relic of the past. The only thing they've ever done is updated the shard counts and drop rates. They've never done anything else with these. And again, this is one of those other ones, but I want to specifically look at assault battles today and maybe discuss a little bit about drop rates as well and why I think May has, these extra events have exposed the economy problem that SWGOH has. So go ahead, please like and subscribe, comment down below. Got to give our shout out to the channel members. Y'all know the drill. If you're ever interested, that link is below, along with a link to our Discord. Go check it out. You guys are the best, and I can't thank you for just sticking with me. I appreciate you giving me the day off yesterday so I could just spend time with the family, celebrate Mother's Day with my wife and kids. It was awesome. You guys being supportive is the best part of this channel, so thank you again. Let's get in here, and let's talk about these, problems that have been exposed. Alright folks, so let's get started here, and I want to really just pay attention to the assault battles. So, assault battles have always been something that I say are bonus rewards. It's a very unpopular opinion. A lot of people are like, these are the most important events, you gotta rush to get here. And I've always kind of shown that your ROI on these is so far in the future that it's not worth rushing to get to Challenge Tier 2 and Challenge Tier 3, because you don't get that much from it. You think from an individual assault battle, if you were to get the assault battle, just say 15 times a year, which, again, that's probably somewhere, 13 to 15 times. Let's call it 15, and you're going to get 6 blue signal data, right? Because you get 3 for Challenge Tier 2, 3 for Challenge Tier 3. That's 90 blue signal data. That is not even enough to do a single Relic 8. And that's just from, that's one assault battle, but you get the idea. That the time you'd have to put into these, the resources you pour into them, it's going to take you a very long time to recuperate the investment. And these, in my opinion, are a relic of the past, if you will. Because when you look, you get carbonite circuit boards, bronzium wiring, you get all the way up to electrum conductors. Because when these were released, Relic 7 was the max that you could get to, and so the only thing above electriums was Zimbital cards. So it made sense, when you think about, the resources that this was giving you, at a time where Relic 7 was the highest you could get, and you're going to get 6 blue signal data every single time, and again, if you take that 15, you get to about, 90 per event, and if you just say 13 is the number you stick with, and you do that 6 times, you would get to 78, which is enough for a full Relic 7. So, within that context, you see that the rewards for these assault battles were kind of tuned for Relic 7 being the peak. But now we have Relic 8. Now we have Relic 9. And all of a sudden, these rewards don't really feel that impactful. It sounds like it's great because it's bonus stuff. But having gotten these now, a 2 times, where you're getting them back-to-back days, I feel like the rewards are commensurate with the current economy. I feel like getting 12 blue signal data from a single one over this period of time. That feels good to me. That feels impactful. That feels meaningful. And this is a problem that I would never have thought about until we got them twice, and you really see and can feel that change, that difference. You think there's 7 assault battles, right? There's 7 legacy assault battles, which if you get those 2 times a month, you're going to get one almost every 2 days, right? Or every other day, right? Every other day, you're going to get an assault battle. That's awesome. That feels right. It sounds, you're going to be like, oh, Phil, but that's so much extra stuff they're giving out. It's more signal data. It's more of those little relic materials. But it's nothing that I would say is proprietary, if you will. That it's not Relic 7 materials. It's not arrow magnifiers. It's not droid brains. It's good rewards, but it's not great. Again, this is just something that I felt needed updated, and I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it here. It is a problem. And it's not so much of a problem for players even at my level, right? At my level, it is what it is. It's for all of you who are in those earlier stages of the game that I think this would be a much more impactful change for. Because for many of you, you're still in that stage where Cantina farming is, you've got a lot of characters left to do here. Or you need all of your raid materials to get arrow magnifiers because you're not getting them from your territory war. You didn't have this stockpile built up from the challenge pit raid. And so trying to get Electrum conductors is a little bit more of a problem, and getting extras from an assault battle would be relevant, right? I think this is a change that would really benefit players in that middle to, earlier stage of the game, even in the late. It'd benefit everybody, but particularly people in those earlier stages. This would be a much more important change, and would feel like you could rush to get to these assault battles, and it would be, worth it for you. Again, I feel like we've had them for a while, and we've never really, it just has never felt like we, have given any thought to the fact that they were designed for when Relic 7 was the pinnacle, and now we're at a point where Relic 9 is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the game. So I feel increasing the rewards to more match the more demanding style of play that Capital Games is requiring of us feels right. Let me know what you guys think about that. That's one that I definitely was like, yeah, you know what, this does feel right. The next is triple drops. So we got double drops, and then we got triple drops. And what I began to go through in my head, and what I began to really feel, was the triple drops felt to me what double drops used to. Like, double drops were great, but triple drops, in my opinion, felt much more of how I used to feel about doubles. Like, I got okay stuff during the double drops, I'm not going to complain, but I didn't get any of those things where it was like, oh my gosh, this is great, during doubles. But during the triple drops, that's the way it felt. And I think that brings into question that maybe there needs to be an economy change in SWGOH, that maybe we need to increase some drop rates across the board. When this game, the last time we got any kind of increase like that, we first got character shards. If you go back in time, they accelerated the character shard drop rates. After you've been in the game for a year, you go to 2 times. If you're still in the game, for less than a year, you're stuck on a single time, a single drop, right? You come in here, single drop. When they made that change, it felt amazing at first, until you began to see that core gear was your problem. You got all these character shards, but you didn't have any core gear. And that's when they doubled all of that stuff on nodes, kind of made the stores change, and that's when they kept Kyrotech where it was. As I've gotten further, I feel that we need to circle back and maybe talk about going to a little bit more of an increased drop rate on characters and potentially gear. I say that because I think about all of you who weren't in my position. Like, how many, where I feel Capital Games has always struggled is they've made a lot of changes to the early game, right? You progress through the early game a lot faster now. But think about like a mid-game player. Your progress all of a sudden just like halts after that beginning part because you've caught up, and now you caught up to where like they've made their updates, and now there's this huge part of the game where the only way to really get there is through Lightspeed bundles. And while that's great, that's not good for anybody who doesn't spend. Right? That's not good for anybody who only wants to buy one of these things instead of buy every single one. So I think we need to change some drop rates in order to get players to the point where they can interact with stuff. One of the big things is the raid, the constantly changing raid. Similar situation with Conquest. The price to get in is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And yet, with that constant evolution, economies are stagnated. Some of the economies have gotten better, but for some of those key core pieces of your account, it's stagnated. And players are now in this position where the pacing of the game almost puts them in the negatives. Zetas, I know a lot of you are feeling that Zeta bottleneck. I do know a lot of this is brought on by Lightspeed bundles, but I can even tell you as someone who is just kind of paying attention, if you will, my need for Zetas is increasing because I'm having to Zeta characters and Zeta teams that I wasn't before, because you've got to get raid ready. You've got to equip, Zetas for the raid. You've got to equip Zetas for maybe a conquest or something. It is more demanding. So, oops, I didn't mean to click on that Relic Ascension bundle. So, as I sit here and I, posture to you guys, I ask this question. What if, these things increased, what would the impact to your account be? For an account like mine, obviously I'm going to get, signal data faster, but it's not really going to change much of my shard farming because I've already gotten all of that stuff. I don't have that much gear that I need to equip. So the impact there is a little bit more minimal for me. But for some of you, that increase means that you can actually think about going for Ahsoka. You could think about going for Balin, or think about going for Jedi Master Mace Windu, where that's not a thought that a lot of you can have because you're not in that position. You don't have the Kyrotech. You don't have the core gear even to get there, or, it takes you too long to farm the shards, and in that time, somebody else has gotten some ship or something. So, as much as I love these double and triple drops, it's almost opened my eyes a little bit to the need for increased rewards, kind of a modernization of SWGOH that they need to recognize now. This game is 10 years old, and some of these economies that once were, I'd say, perfectly aligned with the tip of the game are now falling behind. And while I think Lightspeed bundles have at least given some players a great opportunity to get there, they're not a long-term, they're not feasible. Long-term, this only helps if you're going to spend the money, which that's who you want them to spend money. But if you only have people who spend money in this game, that's a much smaller portion of the player base compared to the players who aren't. And you need those players who aren't spending, so that way the people who are spending can beat the living crap out of them in PvP. And I can tell you that is exactly how they're making money. I mean, you go to a, fleet arena, you go to a, squad arena, and it's just full of players who have wailed on these clones to get Apocron or something, right? The amount of players I see who have that, just crazy, like all the, the Datacron for these guys, level 9s and stuff, it's there. And so they need people to beat up on. And those people to beat up on are the ones who need these increased rates in order to even get to the point where looking at a clone and saying, yeah, I'm going to invest in that makes sense. So I hope this helps. I'm curious what you guys think. It's been stewing with me over the weekend a little bit, where I've been doing these and I'm like, man, this actually feels good for once. I'm actually paying attention to my assault battle rewards because they feel, it feels good. It feels nice to get them that often. You guys let me know if you think that would, obviously I think it would help. It's, how realistic, again, who the hell knows? Do I think they're going to ever update that? I doubt it. but it's at least some food for thought for them to show that some of these events need modernized. They need to be, brought to the, forefront. Or, and this goes back to, again, if you're still watching, this goes back to when they introduced the new Peridia Patrol and Duel of the Fates battles. Those were meant to replace legacy battles, and we freaked out, and I would say rightfully so, that, you've crafted the game to have these legacy battles, you want to make this new thing, and that's kind of how we have era battles now. But I don't think they understand sometimes the importance that those events have, and as I sit here, I feel like they need to be more often in order for players to even participate with the way the game is trending. Because where Relic 8 and 9 used to be this cool, fun thing you'd get to do, it's now becoming a necessity. It's now becoming a requirement. It's now becoming something that a lot more content is gated behind than just territory battle planets. And with that, we need to try to get players there. And this has always been my problem. This is why I say I don't think Relic 10 is anywhere close to happening, is because Relic 9 is still not yet heavily accessible to the vast majority of the player base. So that's the end of the video, my friends. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.